I got a
Right.
little notification there telling me that
Yeah, man.
I'm in trouble.
Right, we're going to start in 3, a 2, a 1. Bang. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of Actors Unscripted. Now, before I introduce our lovely guest here, I'd just like to thank my friend Will for making the original piece of music for the intro of this podcast.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you, Will. His socials will be in the description below. But everyone, please welcome Todd Hunter. An absolutely lovely friend of mine and also an actor that I've worked with. He's done a multiple array of stage and film, and he is just unbelievable. He's a very lovely, lovely fella. Welcome to the podcast.
What a lovely introduction. That's I didn't know you were allowed to lie on the podcast. I didn't know we were allowed to tell.
Yeah, I had to lie for that one.
Right. Good.
But welcome, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here in my living room. Yeah, lovely to be here.
Fantastic. Now, I always like to ask a question to all of my guests first before we get into the nitty gritty, and that is, why have you decided to head down this path of acting and this art form? Why? The big why that everyone hates.
The honest truth is that I can't think of doing anything else. I've never been able to do anything else. I've had other careers and I've enjoyed it. I've been like financially successful in the past and then spent it all. But the whole time during that period, always felt like there's something missing. Always felt like I worked in yachting, so I traveled quite a lot. And on the outside, it seemed like the best career because essentially you're getting paid to see all the places and the restaurants that billionaires and celebrities and stuff go to, and you meet these people, and it's wonderful. And on the outside, I'd have people telling me, like, "Oh, it's such a class job. Like, what a class job you have." Blah 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 blah. And I'd nod and I'd agree, but I promise you the whole time I was thinking, why are you not acting? Why are you not acting? Why are you not acting? And it happened to me very, very young. We had a play being put on in primary school, and I just like auditioned to kind of like take the piss, and like to be, I don't know, to try and be funny, try and make everybody laugh. And I ended up getting cast as the lead, which is very, very strange. And I didn't really understand it. Like I didn't really understand what you just learned the lines and then you just went up on stage. And I honestly loved it from then on. Yeah. And then getting to turning 18 and then going like, what is it you want to do with your life? And my parents, like very supportive as they are, like capitalism and wanting to, my dad's like this alpha male, be like, like, oh, business and all that shit. And I ended up falling into yachting and ended up traveling, and that's where I thought, okay, so I'm in the right place. And everyone's telling me what a great job this is, but at the same time, all I kept thinking about is like, why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing this? And I eventually just ran out of excuses. Like I just ran out of all the excuses, because I was terrified of failure, right? And yeah, not the best industry to be in if you're terrified of failure. So quickly got over that. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like that's why I can't think of doing anything else. There's nothing. I've tried other careers, and I work in hospitality, and I'm a freelance gin distiller, and yeah, it's great. But I honestly every day think about acting, and I can't. Yeah, I'll try it at the end of my life for sure.
That's brilliant. And that, I think there's a beauty in that as well, in like understanding what it is you want to do for the rest of your life. Like, this is the one thing that I love, and I know what that is, because there can be a few people out there, or a lot of people out there, who actually don't know what that is and are just trying to float along.
A lot of the times I feel like I'm like tainted, or like, I don't wish this want on anyone. I don't wish anyone to like, but at the same time, if you also feel really lucky, I feel really blessed that I have come to this decision. There's a lot of people who get into their late 40s or 50s and decide like, oh, do you know what? Like, look back and go, why didn't I try this? Or why didn't I do this? Why didn't I write? Or why didn't I try stand-up comedy or something? All for the fear of failure. Why haven't I given this a go? And yeah, in that respect, I feel really blessed that it happened to me. Like, you must feel really blessed. Like, you're younger than I am, and you must feel,
the understanding that I know that this is what I want to do is beyond, like, because I don't think a lot of people actually do understand at my age that if you know what you want to do, you have a gift, because you can put everything into that and just go
100%.
that direction. So yeah, it's
100%. I like all my friends growing up. They all knew, like, okay, so you go through GCSEs and then you study these subjects to then have an idea of, okay, well, this will give me a broad idea of what it is that I want to get into, and then maybe you study politics or maybe whatever it is, and then you go down this track of a career. And a lot of my friends are really, really happy in that. For me, nothing ever stood out. Nothing in class never stood out, and I felt clever enough, but at no point did I work very hard in school. Only at acting is the only thing that I've really put work into. Like, so at that, even that in itself is evidence to suggest, like, that's the reason I'm in it, because it's the only thing that makes me work hard.
I can definitely tell that, because when we worked together, instantly I knew you're great. You're great. You're absolutely awesome to be around. It's awesome. But yeah,
I love it. But I love being on set. I love stage. I also love, but there's something about cameras being set up, and there's something about being involved. Like, when you're on stage, okay, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, but interacting with just everyone on a film set, from anybody from the DOP to whoever it is, I love that. I love that chat just behind the camera.
Yeah.
I do, but I love that. And like you see that we had the best crack on. Yeah, it was brilliant. So,
it was hilarious. Yeah. Well, that's really nice to hear. I'm glad that, because everyone has their own different, their own different stories. But I'm glad that you found it now, or however long ago you did. So I'm happy. So
thanks.
I think now, moving on to the next question, and it is a bit of a deep one, right? But I had a revelation around, like, I'd say very close to the point where I was graduating, where I was like, who am I if I'm not an actor? Right? What is my purpose? If someone came up to me and they went, "You're blacklisted, mate. You cannot work as an actor ever."
I have to be in that accent as well.
Yeah, you're blacklisted. What would my reaction be? And I cycled through my head like, okay, I'd probably break down. Like, on a real note, I'd probably break down and be like, oh my God, I'm not allowed to do this now. But then it sort of made me think, right, but at the end of the day, we are all humans, and our value as humans doesn't come from our career. So my question to you, Mr. Hunter, is, how do we remove the idea that our careers are everything in this life?
Well, it's from childhood, right? Like, it comes from, like, not just social status, but from a very early age, from a child. One of the first things I was asked was, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What is it you want to do? Your worth is measured by, or what kind of career are you striving towards? Because that says a lot about you. Like, I don't know, the child wanted to be an accountant, but, like, I don't know, somebody who's good with numbers, like, oh, I'd like, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be a policeman, or I want to be a fireman. Like, oh, right, okay, that's someone who wants to take care of people, whatever. So starts to, it's right from the, and when we meet each other, when you meet people, like, in casual social situations, what's the first? Certainly in London, the first thing I get asked is, like, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? And then when we start talking about acting, all of a sudden, then I have to I have to add value to that. I have to show that I had to add worth. Like, okay, so what have you been in? Right. So you're asked about what level of, so us as a society, that's we are geared at the moment. Well, we were geared very heavily towards like what it is that we do and our jobs. That's who we are, right? I think a lot of people, a lot of my friends anyway, went through some stuff during lockdown, and when that job was taken away from a lot of people, a lot of others did work from home and still kept a certain amount of work going and sort of maintain that normality. But a lot of people had to sit back and be with themselves and understand their value that is outside of work, because it didn't necessarily matter unless you were in one of the services that were saving our lives. Like at the end of the day, what it is that you did, no one talked about it, because no one was talking about work either, because they couldn't fucking do anything. So I think it comes from an early age. How do we get away from it is a whole other story. There's a lot of like self-worth, right? Like it's about having intrinsic self-worth and understanding that I believe that you're not about what it is you do to make money. Okay, to put food on the table, whatever. There's a lot more to what you offer as a human being, as a fallible human being who makes mistakes, and like you should have intrinsic self-worth. You as a human being, you're worth it, and I think a lot of people, we're made to feel like that. We're made to feel like we're not enough, right? So that we buy more shit, right? We're made to feel, well, if you have a little bit more, then you can live in this place, or you can have this car or whatever, right? So there's essentially, as consumers, we're made to feel like we aren't enough, and your job gives you status. Your job and your money and your income gives you status. So if you had status in school was a lot about whether you're good at sports, or you could fight, or whether you could pull girls or whatever. And then, after all that disappears and you become wherever you settle down, your job is a big status symbol, and your car that you drive can be massive, where it is that you live, what street you live on, especially in London. So yeah, I don't know how we get away with it. How do you feel about it?
Maybe not that. Yeah, I could maybe like change the question, but I think it could be to do with, like you said, how we're sort of programmed to think that there's something wrong, so we have to buy these different things and do this because it will fix that certain problem. When in reality, it's only a consumerist or technique, right? Just to get us to pay for stuff. But I think when it comes down to, let's say for acting, people my age, or the people that I'm usually around, I know most of them are very driven, and we want to just get to that point.
What is that point?
Let's say, I don't know, let's say the top of that goal is, I want to be the best known actor in the world. I want to have done this film with so and so, and this, that, and the other. We implement that goal at the top, right? The top of the mountain. And then we're always very internally focused on the top of that mountain, rather than, right, how do I actually get up there? But then another aspect is where we, like you said again, is where we put our self-worth. Like, we determine our self-worth in the career. We determine our self-worth in the amount of money we make, the people we've worked with. So I think the best way to approach it with yourself, I don't think this is something you can fix on a global level. This is because the economy is literally set off of it, right? But on an individual level, I think the way that you can deal with it is thinking, right, where do I put my priorities? Do I self-prioritize in everything in my career, or my family and friends, or in a different aspect of my life that I enjoy, or putting it in places where you actually feel like you're doing good? Because for me, I heard that, sometimes it's about the impact you put on other people's lives rather than your career. So let's say you're incredibly compassionate and you're incredibly kind and you're making sure everyone around you is, you know, having a good day, for example. I don't
Sure.
know, on that level, it's where you put your self-worth in, right?
Yeah,
And if
but it's not like, I feel like it's not like mutually, those things I don't believe are mutually exclusive, right? But it's about looking, for me, it's always been about looking inward. Those goals that you said, like for instance, the paycheck or the working with a certain actor, whatever, those they are like, is it the experience of working with that actor that it is that you're chasing, or are you chasing the validation, or the outside
there it
validation?
is.
Is
There
that
it
what
is.
it, because like even today my brother asked me who's not in any creative industry, it's like, so how's acting going, whatever. And I always have to push down that need to validate, to turn around and say, well, I'm doing this and I'm writing, I'm writing the script and it, I don't turn around and ask him, oh, validate your job. It seems to be this like, have you made it yet? Have you made it? And judging yourself by other people's standards, or what society thinks that is a successful actor or whatever, I don't believe that's the answer, because then you live and die by that sword, right? Turn around and you do a bad film, or you do something that nobody likes. You could be proud of the project, but for whatever reason, nobody likes it. That's you. I wouldn't be able to handle living like that. I had to pass that up a long, long time ago, because you start thinking like that, you live and fall with what is critical, success, right?
100%. I think if you do stick to that rhetoric, you will just become that rhetoric. You'll become it, and you will just end up being literally just attached to it infinitely. You'll always criticize yourself. You'll always attack your performance. You'll always be like this. You'll always be like that. And it's not.
That's also that kills any creative flow that I have. Like I remember at drama school, first I'd never heard of Meisner, and I remember experiencing that for the first time, focusing on the person opposite me, and the freedom that I felt from the very first class. It changed. It brought my enjoyment and the level I felt of the work that I was producing, like just up by far. And if you're thinking about, Christ, what people are thinking, like, no, what's the director thinking, or what's this other actor probably thinks is the biggest piece of shit. That is only that in my opinion is only going to kill whatever kind of good work that you're doing. That's really only going to kill it. So yeah, I don't think that's the answer.
Yeah, I think it does kill the art form essentially. Then
Yeah,
the whole point of it is to tell stories, not to entangle yourself with your own personal demons about what someone else is going to think or what the audience is going to think. Because I'm telling you, the person back in the 1800s telling stories around the campfire was not thinking, oh, Jimmy doesn't like what I'm telling.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. I've always been really impressed by writers, because I don't know, I previously I've never known how someone could deal with a blank page, and I started taking this writing course at Elliott Grove at Raindance, which is unreal, by the way. And I remember for the first time sitting down like this, like blank page, whatever, and when I began writing, I kept on just thinking like, this is a piece of shit. Like, this is absolute garbage. We should like stop writing. And for us, it reminded me of like how I'd feel like way back in the beginning of like acting, like, oh, you're shit or whatever. And just dropping that and going, right, I'm not writing for anybody else. I'm not writing this for anybody else. And I ended up half an hour just disappeared. I lost myself like completely. Now I haven't reread it. It probably is a piece of shit, but irrelevant. Like, I didn't have a blank page anymore. I didn't have that, you know, like that daunting, like, you know, space. Instead, I had something like I could go back to it and go, okay, so, you know, there's a nugget of something that's quite interesting. Let's build on that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's like taking that step forward and just ignoring that little voice in your head and just going, right, you know what?
Yeah.
I am just going to do it. I'm just going to write, even if it's like, what, I don't know, 2 paragraphs. I'm going to write it, and then your brain can then expand on it. Because that's the thing. I feel like everyone's scared of taking the first step, which fair enough, we all are. We're all afraid of doing it. But if you do have the bravery and courage to take it, that'll set you off already.
100%. It's like, it's about being playful. It's about being you're being a child again. Like, you know, you like when I was a child and you were playing, you just like went off and I don't ran into some trees and shit. You know, like you didn't really, you're not thinking about what people are thinking about you. You know, all of a sudden you start building. Well, you're building this ego. We're like, oh, what's somebody going to think about that? And all of a sudden you start to, you know, slow yourself down.
You do, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. There's this a psychologist called Carl Jung. I think he's like made a point of like playing in the dirt. Blind Boy talks about this a lot. It's like playing in the dirt every single day to try and rekindle that essence of being a child, like of just playfully being childlike. And you know, creativity, you know, can only come from that.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Like, if you're an actor and you do want to pursue this career, I think it's incredibly important to maintain that imagination. And you know, even in classes, they always teach you about, okay, you got to remove the coconut shell. You got to.
I've heard that one.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think I just made.
I need
that
to get
one
back
up.
to class.
Yeah, I think I just made that one up. But you know,
good. All right.
remove the coconut shell of all of the social disparities that come spewing at you, right?
Yeah. I don't know how the big boys do it. I don't know how. I don't know how they put themselves out there, and a lot of, you know what I mean. Like, I don't know how many times, you know, I'm sure like Ryan Reynolds has been told, you know, that your movies are shit or whatever, you know, and then
I enjoyed
unreal.
Green Lantern. I enjoyed it.
There you go. But you know what I mean? Like what is like imagine the level of abuse that boy received.
Yeah.
From that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's crazy to think about, really.
that's obviously clearly someone doesn't rise and fall with, because you can't.
You can't. Exactly. You just can't, because you can't allow it. Otherwise, you're not doing your job anymore.
Yeah.
And you're also doing a disservice to yourself. And obviously, you can see he's absolutely crazy successful even after, because he didn't let it. So yeah, it's mad. It's mad how the brain works and likes to just like mess you up. But yeah.
Well, we're all broken machines, aren't we?
Yeah, but you can also be repaired. My next question for you, Todd, is what would you say makes you the most fulfilled when you are either sharing or doing your art?
Fulfilled. Again, this is literally contradicts everything what I just said. But
that's
like,
completely fine.
but I remember the first time that I got laughter on stage. I remember the first time that like an audience laughter, and that was something that was the first hit of like, oh shit, like I like this, whatever this is, this feeling, whatever. And that, again, as I said, like completely contradicts, because I'm going off what other people think, right? That's validation from like, oh, he's funny, and oh, he may or may not be doing a good job, whatever. I hope it was laughter for the right thing, actually. Now I actually remember. Maybe they were laughing at me than with me. But there is a feeling of that, certainly at the beginning. Now it's the feeling of doing a good job. There's something about you know, that rare occasion when you feel you've nailed it, and actually a lot of the time another cut gets used, and actually the other one's better. But there's this feeling, there's this yeah, actually the one that you think's really good is actually bollocks. But there's this feeling of I'm not going to go wishy-washy about like connection, but there is that, you know, that collaboration when you come away from someone and go like, whoa, like that was, you don't go around like that was really good, whatever. But there's an energy, like there's an air of like, that was spicy. Good. Yeah, you know what I mean? That was spicy, and that feeling, and then when you're on stage, I don't know about you, I lose myself. Like I'm lost in it a little bit. A lot of the times I'm actually chasing words, and I'm like lost in it, and then that's gone, then it's done, and it that I think it's creative flow. I think it's like losing yourself in that flow where it's like all time and space just like disappeared, and you're just up being doing this thing, and that feeling, and I hate it as well, that rush before stage. You can't buy that. You can't purchase giving a fuck about something so much that your heart is racing and you're not moving. You know, you're not moving an inch, and your heart's just going, but don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And every fiber of your fucking being saying like, don't walk out, just stay where you are. You're safer exactly where you are. And then you walk out, and I get like literally shivers. Yeah. You know, when you get shivers from it, and you can't. I do not believe you can buy that. You know, I'm sure there's some drugs that can give you that effect, but really, but
mushrooms or something.
I've tried them all, but yeah. It's unreal. It's unreal. Yeah,
I do agree with you on that. Like, especially when you're in the wings with everyone, and you just sort of like, 100%. Oh god,
no. Are we really gonna do this?
Yeah.
All the time I try and distract myself by spending my time like calming other people down. Like, it's okay. Don't like, you're gonna be great. I'm gonna be shit.
I do that a lot every time. Like, especially back in college, I would be the one going, right, we got this, guys. Don't worry. And I'm just over here going. I do understand that feeling entirely. Like, it is like nothing else in the world, honestly. Like, you know you're going to go out there. You know, as soon as you go on stage, you're going to just lose yourself, and you're just going to be like, oh, this is bliss. But the moment before, it is terrifying. The moment before is like literally like fear, excitement.
Because that's living. Like that's you're absolutely alive. That, you know, that is living at its heart. Like, I remember, it's a weird story, but like I remember I had to break up with a girlfriend, and I met my family beforehand to let them know, like, listen, it's not going to work out. And I was sitting in this coffee shop with my parents, and I just felt awful. Like, I just felt like sick, and like, you know, like hands sweaty and stuff, and questioning whether it's the right thing to do, and blah 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 blah. I remember my brother, who's not a particularly deep person, said, he said, yes, but like, isn't like, this is life. You're like, this feeling feels terrible, right? It feels awful, but there's no question about it. You're alive. It's great, and it's awful, and it's terrifying, and it's all the bad things, but you're unquestionably living right now. Like, this is, you'll look back in this moment, and I have done, you know, like, you know, it's a rich part of your life. It's a full on, not chapter, but like, I'm trying to think of the word, but, you know, a particular moment. Yeah, exactly. And
100%. It is definitely,
it's like that. As you're living, you feel alive.
It is that essence of being alive, whether it's a terrible feeling, an amazing feeling. Either way, you know, no matter what it is, you're alive. and that's the great thing about
it. You want to die.
Yeah.
You really want to die.
Yeah. That's That is lovely. I am happy to know that someone else also does that
It's just
thing.
you, me, mate.
Yeah, that does that thing where they go,
Just you, me.
"It's all right, guys. We're gonna be
Everyone else
great."
is, everyone else is cool and calm. Do you know what I learned not so long ago? Uh, I started reading after lockdown. I started experiencing like anxiety attacks and like very very minor, but like I was not happy. But like, and I started reading a book that someone gave to me, and I learned that Frank Sinatra, before going out on stage, I think he used to vomit before every stage performance. Now that boy never ever looked remotely bothered by it. Now, probably because mostly him and Dean and like some were all like smashed beforehand, but like they, I mean, actually, probably was the pre-drinking. Actually, maybe
maybe.
But there are accounts where he would vomit out of nervousness before going out on stage. And see, since I heard that, I was like, well, fuck. Do you know what I mean? If Frank felt weird about it, then sitting in that feeling, sitting in that feeling, and understanding that it's just it's a natural response. I hear all the big boys say, oh, this is part of it. Without it, without it, I don't think there'd be any. You almost need that kind of like energy to sort of go out and put yourself out and go and do it. So I think it's part of, and once you know that's what's happening and it's normal, it definitely lessens. Apparently it's the same function in your body as when you're really excited, because it's excitement, right? So it's both nervousness, but it's also excitement. And it's just your brain choosing to register it in a different like, oh, nervousness, like you feel poorly, whatever, but it's your body's behaving exactly the same way as excitement. And another actor told me that, actually. Shout out to Matthew K.
Quick plug.
Yeah.
Now, another question for you, Todd. Now, as a young person myself, and yourself, but I'm just from a different generation. Reel it back.
Good save there.
How does one, balance real life, like everyday living, and your actual like career? Like, what is, because right now I'm sort of going like, well, I mean, I'm not really doing anything right now. I'm actually experiencing real life, but I guess when I do get a job, right, that I'm going to be working, weekly, whatever. What is like the best approach in making sure like there's a healthy balance? Because I don't want to end up going, completely the other direction, focusing everything again on career, because that's what I did a year ago, and I don't really plan on going back to it because I feel better now for it.
Burnt out, did you?
Yeah, I felt burnt out because I was like constantly for 5-6 years just doing it, training, doing this, wanting to do that, wanting to do, and after all that time, I just don't want to look at a script again for a bit. I just didn't want to look at it. I was just like, all right, I'm going to leave it to the side a bit. I want to actually experience the world that I'm living on right now. So I never really got to appreciate it properly,
Well, you just answered. I mean, you've answered the question essentially, right? Like you've got to learn to experience. You've got to learn to experience other things. Throwing yourself 100% into something, whether it's going to the gym or like nutrition or something, if you or your career or work or whatever it is, because something has to suffer. It has to be taking a piece away from you, right? And I don't care what it is. I don't really believe that's a healthy way to be. I felt exactly the same as you, like pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And remember when I asked you earlier, like, where is the goal? Like, where is it? If a lot of the times I'm like, oh, maybe I'm, like a few years ago, like really unhappy with where my career is, because I felt like I gambled a lot. I, told all the people like, I'm going to do this thing and blah blah blah. And a lot of people went, what? And my stubborn self turned like, well, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to do it. And you're like, what a waste of money and blah 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 blah. And then obviously there's the validation or whatever. But it's if you're following that up with like 100% focus and 100%, like I was making myself ill. Like I was actually making myself feel sick, and I'm constantly thinking about what other people are thinking about me, or what, is this a success, is this whatever. And I was extremely unhappy, and constantly thinking about where my career is, or whereas I'd known that it was 3 years ago. I'd have looked at that position that I got myself and gone, oh, actually, I'd love to get to that stage. Where is the goal? Where is the final goal? You're constantly readjusting, saying, okay, so I'd like to be in a Netflix series or whatever. And then you've done that. Is that it? Are you happy now? Is that is that happiness? Is that going to be like, yeah, it's a lot about what we talked about before. It's a lot about self-worth and whatever, and like the experiences, whether it's going out and having a beer with a mate or whatever, that enjoyment that has to take place. You cannot shut yourself away. You cannot just 100% focus on this one thing, because I don't really feel as though it's going to be as gratifying when you reach that point, because you'll always be thinking about the next thing, and you forget to live your life.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've seen that example a lot in the corporate sense of going, oh, I want to be the head CEO of this, but then you get there and you want, oh, well, I want to do this, but then I want to do that.
Sure.
Like,
let's say, I want that. I keep going back to houses and stuff, but like, oh, I want this house, or I want whatever. And like, there's a part of me that's jealous that they have a fucking house, but at the same time, I would not. I've never wanted to cheer. I think it's because I've been quite lucky, because my parents have been really supportive, like since me making the decision, and I made money beforehand, so I was able to live in London, and I was able to survive by myself and stuff. But like, I never at any point wanted to join that chase of again, as you said, like corporate world. And I'm a lot of me is really jealous of people that are satisfied with that, that are satisfied with that corporate world, and they are they're every time they do buy a house and they do go that's I'm really jealous of that. If that would make me happy, then I would be happy. It just wouldn't make me happy.
Yeah.
Really?
No, that's actually so interesting, because I actually haven't heard of that perspective before. Like, if I was happy with what they were happy with, I'd be happy.
Yeah. And how ridiculous is that? Do you know what I mean? Constantly grass is greener. Yeah. It's it's about the journey, right? Like you see, and I'm talking about life. I'm talking about in art's not its final form. I'm talking about acting as well. It's about the journey, right? It's about when we think about the film that we did together, like we don't think about. I don't think about the scenes.
No.
I don't think about that's because I'm lost in it or whatever. But like I think about the crack beforehand, and I think about the years after, and I think about behind the scenes chat, and I think I even think about cycling there, doing the excitement of like oh, I'll get my bike and I'll go on the films. Like it's something about that. There really is. It's about the journey, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think going back on the comparison thing about the grass is greener. I think again, comparison is the thief of joy. It just is, because it makes you not happy with what you have.
Yeah.
So I think for one little good thing, I guess, to be would I guess one good thing would be to look at what you do have, look at what you have done, and look at your progress, because we always tend to forget. We always tend to forget what we've done behind us.
What you did before, and how and where your goal was. You said earlier on where your goal was before, because my goals were when I started out this were way back.
Yeah.
They were far back. You know, I've like essentially achieved those, but then we, you know, so again, like it keeps us driving, keeps me driving along. Like it really does. But at the same time, I don't value it necessarily as success.
Yeah.
And I will be doing this for the rest of my life, commercially successful or not. I will be doing this for the rest of my life because I fucking enjoy it. Because I do. And also it's terrifying and it makes me feel alive. And if I hadn't have done it, I'd been sitting in some boat somewhere. Instead, like I've moved to London and, you know, I work in bars, and then the people that I met, like my best friend in the world, you know, he's, you know, I met him working behind a fucking bar in East London, you know, and that's the life that I've experienced from making this decision to do this thing is so it's invaluable. Like it's brought so much to my life, so many experiences that, you know, the past 10 years have been unreal.
That's amazing.
So yeah.
Well, there it is, people. Just do it. Just do it.
Just do it. Just do what it is that makes you feel happy.
Forget about all the other silly vibes.
Well, we all got bills to pay, innit, though.
Of course.
Got things, whatever, but
don't let it stop you.
Yeah, please, yeah, you know.
Never give up.
Yeah. I mean, I was the poorest of my life after having moved to London. I had a girlfriend that literally had to buy me groceries, and I was never in that position before. I was really lucky growing up, and I was put in a position where I was like, oh my god, I can't afford to buy fucking groceries, and I swear, like, you know, because I had this, because I always knew that, you know, I'd be able to move back home or whatever, or I'd tried other careers and stuff like that. I knew I'd be okay, but at the same time, I was really happy. I was really happy chasing this thing. I'd never had less money, and I'd never been happier at that point. And you know, I was, you know, a second officer on a yacht, you know, like in a Christmas time in St. Bart's. I'd never been unhappier. I swear on my life. I was sitting in Caribbean Islands, St. Bart's, at Christmas time, wearing a Santa hat on and shorts because it's 27, 28 fucking degrees, Christmas Day, waving to other like people who work in yacht and go like, Merry Christmas. No one saying Merry Christmas back there. And going, I had a Zoom call, or not a Zoom call, Zoom wasn't then, but like I had a phone call with my family all celebrating Christmas back home. I've never been as unhappy as that moment. And then fast forward 3 years, and I had nothing. Like I had nothing. And I was like, yeah, it's good. My girlfriend's buying me dinner. This is great.
Wow. Wow, Todd. Wow, I appreciate all your honesty and all your truth in this. This has been absolutely fantastic. I appreciate you being on this podcast with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, seriously.
I can't wait till you've got a whole studio, you're all set up, and like
for real.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And like proper, like laid back sofas and stuff.
Proper,
and,
like, you know, bendy microphones.
Yeah. You know, now I want to go to the pub with you, but you're a million miles away. Do you know what I mean? I'm getting on tune now.
Bloody
yes. You know what I mean? Like I want to hit the button going, hey, sure, go how we get this.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, it's been a pleasure, everyone. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Peace.